I want to show you some really, really cool Sims builds that were made by members of our community. I do these little things called shell challenges sometimes, where essentially I make a really weird shaped box that is the shell of a Sims build. There's not anything on it, it's just a big empty box. Usually they're bigger than this, they've got like 2 stories, sometimes there's basements, but this time I made a really tiny shell. It's almost like just one little tiny room, and the idea is that I put this on the gallery and I challenge you all to download it and turn this shell into something. The rules are really open-ended. You could take this, you could make it into a house, it could be a park, you could make a museum. I mean, you can literally do anything. The only rule is that these existing walls have to remain. So at the end, we've all built something using the exact same box, the exact same shell, but there's like thousands of different takes on it. This is one of my all-time favorite things to do. It's just a fun community thing for us, and it's also such an impressive showcase of people's creativity. There's something kind of magical about us all having the exact same starting point, and like I made a little off-the-grid cabin, you made an alien house, somebody else made a ship, you know, like there's just so many different ways that you could take this. And so with that being said, I want to show you a few builds that I've seen on the gallery that I think are pretty cool. Before we get started, I want to give a little quick disclaimer that obviously, despite my best efforts, it is literally impossible to show off everyone's builds. I did a stream on my Twitch channel where I toured a bunch of these last week, and in the stream we like randomize it and pick the names randomly, and literally like 3,000 people redeemed the request to have their build toured, and that was just from my Twitch stream, let alone like everybody from YouTube that did it. So I want to apologize if I didn't get a chance to see your build. This one is harder than usual because it's so small. It's like easier to enter and sometimes enter more than once. So there are a lot of builds using this shell on the gallery. The whole goal of shell challenges is for it to be fun and for it to inspire you. So I really don't want anybody to be sad if I didn't see their build or if I didn't put it in this video. And also I want to say, please don't feel bad about yourself or your own build because of how the builds in this video are. I know it's really easy to look at these builds and think like, oh my god, I suck at building. But the thing is, nobody is a bad Sims builder. Your build is not worse than anybody else's, I promise. I don't want you to watch this video and have the takeaway be like, oh, I suck. I want you to like take away ideas and inspiration instead. This should be fun, right? The goal is for it to be a positive experience. So I want to show you what I built first. I made a whole video on this that I can link down below for you if you want to watch the speed build, but I took that shell and I turned it into like a tiny little off-the-grid cabin. It's very overgrown. You can see it's very wooden and like handcrafted. We've got planter boxes and woodworking tables, stuff to do laundry outside. There's a lot of outdoor stuff because the inside is so small, so we kind of have like an outdoor kitchen almost with a grill and a picnic table. Around here we've got a fire pit, and then inside the house it's got the off-the-grid lot trait, so electricity doesn't work here. So there's candles everywhere to light up the place. We've got a fireplace. There's a little teeny tiny kitchen because technically sinks and fridges do work off the grid, but you have to keep adding ice to them and like collecting water from the lake and stuff. So there is a counter and you could like make a salad if you wanted to, but most of your cooking would have to be outside. We have a tiny little bathroom with like a handcrafted toilet and tub, and then a tiny little bedroom as well. I had so much fun building this and like thinking up the story, and it's always so cool to be limited by the shape of the shell. It was especially hard to figure out what to do in this weird little corner, so it's really fun to see what you all did with the layout, how you made your floor plan, what you put in this little corner, how you roofed it. So the first one that I want to show you is actually like completely opposite. This is the Pink Flamingo by my friend littledica. This is not a house at all. Instead, it's a restaurant, and you can already tell the style is completely different. So here's what he did with it, and you can see he used a lot of platforms to try and expand the roof, but the main building is still the same little tiny shell. So actually inside there's kind of like a check-in desk. There's also a disgusting bathroom in this building, like actually horrifying. I do not want to set foot in here. And then there's a little tiny kitchen as well, fully functional, so you can use this as a restaurant. Most of the seating is outdoors, so underneath this cool covered area with like a glass roof, there's some tables. Each of these tables has a lava lamp on it, which is pretty cool. There's some more outdoor seating over here and like a little performance area with a bar. So there's like a dance floor. We can play some music here. I'm really impressed by the lighting on this lot. Like all the different colors of the lighting I think work really well together. And I like this story that it tells. In the description, he talks about how the place was going to be closed and replaced, but everybody kind of like rallied around it in fear of missing out, and now it's a celebrity hotspot. And then he goes, don't go to the loo though, ... Yeah, no, do not go to that bathroom. I want to try and get through as many builds as I can, so we're gonna move on to the next one. And this one is actually also a restaurant, but it's not just a restaurant, it's a food truck. This is by Art801 on the gallery. So they turned turned the shell into a truck. This is one of the most creative things I have ever seen, and you can tell the shell is right here. We have like the back of the truck. They turned that weird little corner into an open door, and they just sized up a debug car and put it in it. They decorated the inside with like a bunch of stuff in the bed of the truck, and then attached to it, there's like the kitchen part, the functional kitchen part of the restaurant. So your Sims can come here, they can walk right up and order. We've got some outdoor seating. They made a fake road, and they even put like some barriers and stuff here so Sims don't drive there. I mean, not that you have any problem with that. Sims just don't drive, but they made a fake road. And then they kind of built the rest of the lot into a park space. So there's like statues, we have some benches, we even have a bathroom and some picnic tables over here. I just think this whole idea is so clever. I don't understand how people can look at that shell and be like, oh, food truck. It's just amazing to me how people's minds work and like how differently we all saw the exact same thing. Like you would never look at this and know that it was the same as the cabin that I built, right? But it is. It's the same box, just used in a completely different way. And by the way, I'm gonna have all of these builds listed down below in order so you can find them on the gallery. This next one is a house. It's the Lil Lake base game house by madamredo on the gallery. I really like how it's so modern and it's completely base game. There are no packs. So on the outside, we used a lot of platforms with the roof. I was so intrigued by how they roofed this part because I had the hardest time figuring out what kind of roof to put on top of this weird triangle bit that I added. I really like the combo of the platform and the gable roof. Platforms are a good way to add some more dimension to these shells because you can't really add full walls, but you can do like half walls and platforms and stuff. This one is amazing because they've turned the entire thing into a lake. There is a lot of terrain manipulation happening here. There's some fish. We've got out here kind of like a deck. It's almost like a dock, to be honest. So you can paint on the easel. You can fish in this water as well. In the front, they've put a fake car and a mailbox, so there's kind of like a driveway. And then around the back, we have like a little back patio almost. We have some planter boxes, some lounge chairs. They put a pool, and I really like this, like the pool kind of backed up into the lake right here. When you actually come into the house though, obviously it's very small because it's like a tiny, tiny, tiny shell. We've got a little kitchen right here. We have a dining table and a full living room. They've decorated this so it could work for an infant. So we have like a high chair. I really like these two coffee tables layered together. Back here, we've got a bathroom, which is honestly huge. My bathroom was only 2x2. They made theirs really big, but I guess you need it because they need to have a bathtub and stuff. So they decorated it really fancy. We have like some clutter back here in the corner. We even have like baby things like the wipes and the diapers. We've got a toilet and the sink and everything right here. And then over on this side is the bedroom. So we have the main bed. We've got a little tiny office space. And then in this corner, we have like a little nook for the baby. I haven't used the orange swatches on this yet, and I'm kind of obsessed with how this fox rug looks with that crib. I also really like how this floor plan is laid out. It almost feels big inside. I don't understand how this happens, but with these shells, so often we'll all have the same thing, but like one person will have 4 bedrooms and then somebody else will have 1. And it's just so interesting to see how people use the space differently. And I love this like little nursery nook for the baby. I think that is so cute. I think a lot of people get discouraged because they're like, oh, you know, I only have the base game. But sincerely, you can do some really impressive builds with the base game. This obviously is a perfect example. Believe it or not, this next one is also base game only. This is the Simposter film set by IMaePlay. They turned the shell into an entire film set. There is so much on this lot that I have literally never seen before. But to do this, they used a lot of debug. If you type testing cheats on bb.show hidden objects and then bb.show live edit objects, I know, it's a lot, I know. You can access the debug menu. And this is like all the stuff that gets used in the environment. So that first debug cheat unlocked all of the like collectibles you can find, think like the frogs and stuff. And the second one unlocked all of the environment items. So even like these shells in the back of Newcrest, things like this little tree cage, the fire hydrant back there, those are all items that exist in the game, but they're not like made for our use. Think like the cars that drive down this road. You can find all of that in debug. So they've gone through here and they have found so many cool things and they used it to make up a film set. I'm so impressed by the creativity on this lot. So you can see over here, we've got this sort of like abandoned section going on. We have like the old building shells. They place stuff everywhere. Even like this table and chair set is from debug. We have this cool van. There's some cameras. It's kind of overgrown. It's actually so big that it's going off the lot. Like the shells are too big for the lot. You can see it's kind of cool. And then over on this side is like more of the actual film set stuff. So we have like this tent. It's got some seating areas. We have these vans in the back. There's a grill and like some tables for sitting. This trash can even has an empty pizza box next to it. And then this building is the real part of the shell. style, the like real building. So when you walk in, it's like a dressing room. All of these little makeup pieces are from Debug. They don't actually function. It's just like, you know, fake decor. But there's even like lipstick. I'm telling you, I've never even seen half this stuff. In here, we've got a bigger kitchen so you can cook and everything on set. And then we've got a bathroom and shower. I just think this is such a good example of how many cool things you can find in this game if you go looking for them. It's kind of a nightmare. It takes some digging. I mean, it's really dedication is required to go through and find all this. But things like this tent, I mean, I didn't realize we had that in base game Debug. The mailbox for the street, I mean, these street signs, all of this is just so cool. And I'm so impressed by the story that was told here. Again, I asked the question, how does a person look at the shell, that weird little box, and say, oh, you know what? Film set. I mean, I just find that so impressive. And I cannot imagine how much time went into this. That could be said for every single one of these builds. I know you all put so much time and effort into them. This next one is completely different again. This is the SimsieLil shell by TinyDevelopments. They made it into like an eco home. Here's what the outside looks like. And on this one, they really took advantage of the roof and tried to make that into usable space. So in the front, we have this staircase and the front door. And you know what? The staircase looks really cool. It's like a kind of cool architectural feature almost. Also around the side, we have this beautiful pond. In the back, there's some more decking and like some seating and a grill. Whenever we do these shell challenges on stream, I make a bingo card of things that I think I might see in those randomized tours. And we had this running joke about the 3 Ps: ponds, pets, and perish. Because I've noticed that so many people put ponds in their builds, either like an actual one they made with terrain tools or that like shark pond from Get Famous because it's, you know, like a death trap, which, you know, accounts for the 3rd P as well, perish. A lot of people put a lot of, you know, deadly things in their builds. Sometimes there'll be like hidden graveyards in the back. So many people have like some weird little creepy section. They'll take like the little corner random bump out and like hide a skeleton in there. I mean, people do some scary things. And then pets is because a lot of people make like dedicated pet spaces, not just like having a dog bowl. I mean like a cat cafe. The dog has a bedroom. Like people make like pet spaces. So we kind of joke about that. And this one, I mean, P for pond. It really does look so good though, doesn't it? Now on the inside, the house, again, not very big. It's a very, very tiny house, but they split this up in such an interesting way. So when you first walk in, there's kind of a hallway, but there's also the main living space. So we have a little tiny living room. They did this really cool thing that I saw a lot with these eco lifestyle windows. These are like the triangle windows and they put them on the triangle. So from the outside, it almost looks like it's a square, but really it's just triangles on a triangle. It looks really interesting though. Then we have a little teeny tiny bedroom. They've got an office space and a bed in here. Through this door, we've got a bathroom, which is actually quite big. And you know what? But I have never thought to use these Dream Home Decorator cubes as like bathroom storage, but that is so perfect, especially with all the bathroom clutter we got from that clutter kit. So I'm totally gonna use that idea. I swear when I'm touring these builds, I'm like, oh my God, write that down. Write that down too. You just get so many ideas from people because they use items in different ways that you had never thought of before. Through this archway, we have the kitchen and a little dining space. I really like the pink stove. That accent is so cute. But that is pretty much the whole house. They made the roof line so interesting with all these different platforms and different angles and stuff. It's almost unrecognizable as the shell, but it is the shell. I mean, you can see it right here. Okay, speaking of unrecognizable as the shell, the next one that I want to show you is the St. Isla Castle ruins. As if you're gonna look at this and know that it's the shell. This one is by No Remorse 16 on the gallery. Look at this. They put all these giant ruins pieces everywhere to make the ruins of an old castle. And deep in the middle of it, believe it or not, is my shell challenge. This little part in the center is the shell. This is just so cool to look at from like every angle. Around the sides, we have like a little fountain part. Look at this. Even this is a pillar and they like rotated it using the tool mod. So it looks like it's been knocked over. And they put the little dig site things from Jungle Adventure. So it looks like it's spilled. We've got a woohoo bush. Around the back, we even have a grave. I'm telling you, the 3 Ps. This one's got ponds and parish back here. But they've got a whole graveyard section. There's kind of like a courtyard in the middle with some seating. Around this way, there's a wishing well. If you wanted to come visit this lot, it'd be quite cool, actually. They've even like made little seating parts around here. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a tiny glass roof section in this area. So in just this little part, there's a functional kitchen. Over here in this corner, there's a bedroom, and it's all kind of like hidden inside of the ruins. There's even an upstairs part that has like an art studio almost. This corner back here has like a library, so there's some bookshelves and a piano. We have like some creepy portraits of perhaps the previous owners. And once you make your way back into the middle where the real shell building is, you can see the main part of the shell is right here in this section, and they did a kind of sneaky thing, which is totally fair game with the rules. They wanted to add some extra sections, like almost an entryway, so that they could fix the roof. Do you notice how these aren't full walls? These are half walls. So in the shell rules, you can't add full walls because the point is to have the shell be the main part of the building. So a lot of people add half walls. These half walls are like just about the height of a real wall, so from the front you can't really tell. And look at this, they even put like some of these ruin pieces to like hide the seam basically. And they made the inside of this into like a small living room, bedroom, and little tiny bathroom. There's even like an upstairs attic space that they hid in the roof. And again, with the skeletons, there's like these creepy things hidden up here, but it's cool because you can see some of the storage from the windows outside. I cannot imagine how long it took them to do this. The way they like pieced together and like hid all these things, I don't get it. This is miraculous. Like, it is so impressive how they made this. Imagine how long it must have taken to place all these little individual things here. How do you get this idea? Like, how does a person, it's so impressive. Moving on to our next one though, so we can get through as many as we can. This is actually a restaurant again. I noticed that a lot of people really like to build restaurants, and I gotta be honest, restaurants are one of my favorite things to build too. I think it's just really fun for me to like set a custom menu. I don't even play with restaurants that much, but building them is so fun for me. This is the Mediterranean restaurant by jennybsweeney on the gallery. Look at this, their first completed shell challenge. They built this in San Sequoia on that cool lot by the water. Obviously this main part of the building is the shell. They've just used a lot of platforms to try and make it look more interesting. Around the outside, we've got some beautiful outdoor seating. We have this really cool fountain, and it's surrounded by some nice tables. There's a bar, and it kind of has this really nice like pinky, peachy color scheme. When you actually go inside the building, again, it's very small, but this indoor part is like the main interior of the restaurant. So you can walk in, you check in right here. They've got some menus and stuff. I liked this idea of putting these little bars in front of the counter and the check-in desk. It's a nice way to make it look like it's one big piece. I always kind of have a hard time with figuring out where to put this because you need it. You need this host station for the restaurant, but it just is hard for me to fit it into things sometimes because we only have two and like the swatches aren't that good. I love this part though. This with the plants as a backdrop and the logo above it is beautiful. We have a couple little pink indoor tables. There's a bathroom over here, and it even has a changing table for the babies. I gotta be honest, after playing with infants, I am not planning to bring them literally anywhere. It's The Sims 4. We got free babysitting. Leave those kids at home. You take your time at the restaurant. You avoid those kids at all costs. But if you did want to bring them, there is a changing table. And then we also have a kitchen through this door, so your Sims can eat here. It's a full service restaurant, and they set like a full custom menu. I'm telling you, this is like the most fun part of restaurants, is getting to pick what they serve. But how cool is this idea? I think it's so fun. I want to bring my Sims here. I want to eat dinner and like sit out at this table by the water. It really is a beautiful job. I'm sorry if it feels like I'm going fast, by the way. I just want to make sure we're like giving adequate time to each of them. And these are obviously in no particular order. I mean, you can't even really judge or compare Sims builds. Everyone is so different. They're all so good for different reasons. And this one is enormous, by the way. This is the Off the Grid Family Farm by ChrissieYT on the gallery. They also made an off the grid build, but this one is a farm for a huge family. And this one is quite cool because they used the shell multiple times around the lot. Now this is also off the grid, so it means there's no power or water here. I really like how all of these buildings look like they've been built by the family, with like the log cabin walls, the metal roofs, stuff like that. I don't even know where to begin with showing you. So for a quick overview of the whole place, it's pretty cool. We have like an entrance to the farm up here. We have the animals over in this area. So we've got some chicken coops and a barn. There's a huge pond right in the middle. And this is fun because you could like fish on your own lot and get food. We have a little fire pit here. Around the back, we've got a wishing well and a huge farm section. I really like this idea of putting the trees in between the garden plots. I never know where to put the trees, like when I'm doing farms. I kind of like how this looks. We also have bees and like bugs from Eco Lifestyle. Back here, there's kind of like a playground section for the kids. This item is from Island Living, and your Sims can cook on it. We got a table. This is kind of like the main building, and then we have a bunch of different smaller units. So let's start here. This is really cool because you might not realize it, but it is actually also the shell. There's just two of them attached by a roof. roof. So over here on this side, we have kind of like a living room section. We've got a piano, there's a fireplace, some stuff for the baby, place for your shoes, there's bookshelves. We even have like a dartboard and a chess table. And believe it or not, this lot is completely off the grid. So there is no power. All of the light that you're seeing is just from candles. If you look closely, you'll see candles everywhere, even like hanging from the ceiling. In the middle, we have like some more gardening. We've got a candle maker, flower arranging table, stuff for the pets. I love like all the storage. I cannot imagine the amount of time that it took to do this. Kind of back here, there's like some outdoor seating, a big table. We have a grill so you can cook. Inside this area, there's some more seating. And we also have this little kitchen section. I love how they put some stuff in the sink, like dirty dishes. This stove also does work off the grid, even without power. And speaking of power, back here we have a water collector, which is pretty good. This collects rain, so your Sims can use water. We got space for laundry and a lot of it because such a huge family lives here. And then the rest of these little cabins are more like bedroom space. So we have this bedroom here. We've got a bathroom. There's a little nursery for a baby. Obsessed with the decor in this one and like all the clutter everywhere. Over in this one, we've got another bedroom. I love this area with like all the knitting by the fireplace. They have their own bathroom and a bedroom area and stuff. They also have like their own little private balcony. And over here on this side, we've got like the kids' space almost. It's cool because they each have their own like exterior door into their bedrooms, and then they share the bathroom right here in between. I just think this whole lot is so clever, and it's enormous. I mean, how does a person see my tiny shell and think, oh yeah, I'll use it 6 times? Right. I mean, that makes perfect sense. It's just so cool. I'm so impressed by this one. You know I love this sort of like off the grid, simple living lot challenge. Like I think this kind of thing is so fun. Moving on again to another completely different style. This one is a little bar in Oasis Springs called Poor Advice. It's by C. Porter 1997 on the gallery. And Poor Advice is the best place in town to go for a mediocre night out. Sounds like a great time to me. I love when people make things that are like bad on purpose, and not bad as in a bad build, but like this build is a bad place, you know? Like the first one with the disgusting bathroom. This one is a mediocre night out. I really like the lighting on this lot. I think this is super cool. So obviously the main shell is the bar, but kind of around the lot over here, we have like some old newspaper stands. And then around this driveway towards the back, there's some parking. This is pretty cool too. Look at this. So these are debug lights. We talked about debug earlier. These lights in live mode, like outside of build mode in game, will disappear. So you won't see this square, but they use these and then turn them blue. So in game, there's kind of like some eerie blue lighting coming out of these lampposts. They also put all of this like little pieces of grass in all of the gravel back here. The back has some nice outdoor seating with some fairy lights. I mean, I don't know if it's nice outdoor seating, but it's outdoor seating. These little firefly things are actually VFX. So in game, they'll be like little fireflies. You won't see this box. You'll just see the lights. They also put drinks on all the tables. Like there's some empty glasses around. There's a dumpster back here with trash everywhere, which is good because there is a woohoo spot if you so desire. From the front, these tables also have some glasses on them. And then when you actually come inside the building, there's a couple more tables with some glasses. We've got like a TV in here, kind of like a sports bar. And they've decorated the walls so nicely. Again, nice is a strong word. I mean, like this is, I wouldn't call it nice, but they put all these little decals and stuff on so it looks dirty and gross inside. There's like cracks and stains and mold in the walls. I love the neon lights and the vibe that it gives to the lighting in here. This is the actual bar. We have like a money sign and a broom behind it. There's all kinds of stuff hanging up, like some sports banners. We got a fire extinguisher. This is kind of cool too because they made my weird corner into the main entrance, and they used that cool triangle window again, but they put plants in it. And then we also have a couple bathrooms back here, both kind of gross, but somehow not as gross as littledica's from the first build, which is good. That is very good. I also love this. This item is from the industrial loft kit. It's like a bunch of different pieces that you can use to make a vent. I feel like the ceiling is kind of underused decorating space, so it's quite cool to put that in here. I love this bar. I want to bring my Sims to this bar. It just feels so lively, if you know what I mean. And now we have one last build that I want to show you. This one is the VoidLand Splash by sorryimmeara on the gallery, and this one is intended to like go hand in hand with the splash pad from the new pack. So many of these lots that we've seen today are so big that I like don't even know where to start with showing you, but you can kind of tell from the color scheme this is meant to go along with the splash pad right here. They've classed it as a retail lot. So it's got a bunch of different stores on it. It's kind of like a mall almost. My God, okay, where do we even begin? Let's go left to right, shall we? So this blue area over here, we've got this like outdoor little ice cream parlor section. These ice cream machines your Sims can use to make ice cream, and there's like some cute signs and everything with the menus. I am obsessed with these round counters and like the little ice cream decal, and they've sort of used the void critters everywhere. I mean, it is Voidland, isn't it? So we've got like void critters here, just void critters everywhere, and each void critter is kind of like the theme of the different section. So when you go upstairs, we have a little cupcake stand. There's like some cupcake lights around. This in-game will literally sell you cupcakes if it's operated by a sim. There's even a cupcake sign. I've never seen this. I didn't know we had that. And you can walk across the upstairs. Am I getting ahead of myself? You can walk across up here. This is so cool. These are like the little glass floor pieces from Island Living. You can walk across them to get to this like playground area. There's a ball pit. We have these really cool like sized up kids toys. You can keep going, and there's some more void critter like gaming areas. These two are from the kids room pack, and your Sims can actually use these to like play with the void critter cards. It's kind of like Pokemon cards, but it, you know, it's the Sims. These are also games tables, so you can like do puzzles or play games. Inside of the blue building, we've got a little store right here, so you can buy some things. There's also kind of an employee section back here, and we have these bathrooms right here, and these are quite cool because they're split leveled, but they've got showers, so you can shower before and after you use the splash pad. There's a toilet. We have a changing table and everything. Kind of coming around the back this way. This part I think is my favorite. So I assume you have to pay for entry, right? That's what this is supposed to be. And then you can come down these stairs, and they used platforms to make a custom rainbow staircase that your Sims can walk down. We've got all this void critter decor. Down here we have some lockers. You can buy like sunscreen and stuff from this stand. There's places to sit and eat. We've got murals. There's like vending machines. Coming back around this way, around the back, in here we've got another store. This one sells like all kinds of posters. There's like some cool robots and toys and science stuff. This is cool because it's got a lot of tech. There's like all these speakers. There's like tablets. I have literally never seen these computer glasses. I'm not kidding. I don't even know how to get those. Like, is that from, I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen them. There's headphones, there's game consoles. And then around this way, we've got some more rainbow stairs, and these take you into like another collectible sort of toy store. Look at how cool all this is. I've never thought to use these shelves this way, but they're full of like all the Simmy capsules and stuff. We've got some clothes. There's some makeup over here. So this one sells like a bunch of makeup and everything. I really like all the different custom desks as well for the sales stuff. They even sell shoes in here. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, over here, you can access this top floor again from here, but you can also come down into this little like secret photo booth section so your Sims can take some pictures. I mean, there's just so much going on here. It is so cool. And each one of these little buildings is the shell. So this blue one is the shell. This orange one is the shell. This pink one is the shell. And they connected them all together. It's amazing. Every single build we've seen is amazing. And there are so many more on the gallery. So I highly encourage you to go give this a look. The hashtag is SimsieLilShell if you want to go see some other people's builds. Obviously, I could not show them all in the video. It's just physically impossible. There are so many that at a certain point, the gallery just stops loading them. Like, it's pretty cool to see all of your creativity though. And you can see just from scrolling past some of these how different they are. Look, funeral and cemetery. I'm telling you, these people and their creepy builds. It's kind of iconic though, right? This one's a shipwreck. We've got nightclubs, we've got all these houses. I mean, you all have done so many cool builds. I really hope this inspired you to try something new. Hopefully you saw a cool idea or like saw some items used in a way that you hadn't considered and you learned something from watching this. To me, these are just such a fun, like positive community thing to do. So hopefully you also really enjoyed it. We do these kind of about every other month-ish or so. So feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna link another shell tour if you wanna go back and watch some other cool ones. All the builds I showed off are listed in order down below too if you want to go download them. And on that note, I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay? Bye everybody. I am so curious, if you built for this shell, tell us in the comments what you made with it. Some of you guys have such clever ideas of things that I would never have considered.